Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to today's Friday reflections on this, the 7th of the 1st of 2022. I hope everybody is well, wherever you are in the world, and tuned into this. And yeah, we're still living in testing times. We're not through this COVID stuff, everything yet. But inshallah, we'll be getting there bit by bit. Everything is in the hands of Allah, of course. A few people in the UK may have noticed there's an article in the Birmingham Mail about a mosque that was founded by my first Shaykh, Sufi Ubayd Allah Alaikum. And I was asked by a reporter about the situation there, and it's not something that I'm going to go into today. I've made my points clear within the article, and I'm just disappointed that this situation has got to where it's got, and I hope things improve, because I mean, this is one of the city's main mosques, and it's really unfair to Sufi Ubayd Allah, who founded the mosque, for his legacy to be in the situation it is now. But like I said, I'm not going to go into discussion about that today. But with that in mind, it might be worth looking back on some of the saintly people from which Naqshbandi Tariqah traces its origins, and how they were and how they conducted themselves and how they lived their lives. Well, these are our role models, people that we should be striving to be more like. Now, of course, us so many generations later and living in a much more materialistic and complicated world than the ones which they lived, we'll find that difficult. But at least we should be keeping these amazing spiritual, heavenly role models in mind, and striving to, as far as is possible for us, to emulate them in some way and to, be more like them. That's the whole point of Sufism. It's a path of apprenticeship that helps us to become more like the masters or saints or awliya Allah, however people want to refer to them, who came before us. Now, we might not get anywhere near being an actual awliya Allah, but at least if we're striving towards that and we know what the ideal is, then we're going to, inshallah, be on the right path. And of course, that's tariqah. That's what it's about. It's about striving in the right direction and being the best human being that you can be. May Allah help us all in that effort. So today I'm going to read from this beautiful book, which I've read from sometimes before, the Naqshbandi Sufi Way, a history and guidebook of the saints of the Golden Chain. This information is also in a later book, which was more or less sort of a re-edition of this book, but under a different title, called Classical Islam and the Naqshbandi Sufi Tradition. They're both by Mawlana Shaykh Hisham Kabbani. The only real difference, I mean, there's some additional information in the other book, but the other real difference is this one has amazingly beautiful illustrations throughout and photographs. And I mean, you just don't get that in the later edition as a paperback. But nonetheless, I mean, either book still has the same information about the Naqshbandi saints. And it makes a very beautiful and inspirational read. Now, I have been reading from this book previously, so I'm going to carry on from where I left my bookmark. And this one is about Ubayd Allah Al-Ahrar, or Khwaja Ubayd Allah Al-Ahrar. And it begins, "As soon as I remember you, my secret, my heart, and my spirit starts to disturb me during your remembrance, until an observer from you used to call to me, beware, beware of remembrance, beware. Do you not see the real? His proofs appeared, the meaning of totality joined, your meaning. The rememberers, remembering him, are more forgetful than the ones who forgot to remember him. The Prophet ﷺ said, the one who knows God, his tongue is paralyzed. It's an anonymous poem, but obviously Shaykh Hisham included it because it was, the meaning behind it. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ubaydullah Al-Ahrar was the pole of the circle of the knowers of God, an ocean of knowledge which should never be exhausted, even though all of creation were to drink from it to quench its spiritual thirst. He was a king who owned the pure light of the unique essence and released it from its captivity in the hidden to spread it among all knowers. He unveiled the hidden side of the moons of the attributes of the Lord from the cradle until his perfected state. He was given authority as a youth and set to work to receive the secret of secrets and to unveil its veils. He never looked at a worldly desire. He progressed until it reached the highest states of sainthood, where knowledge of the essence of the unseen is bestowed and the secret of absolute nothingness becomes revealed. Then he traveled on from absolute nothingness to absolute light. God revived this order through him during his time, and he supported him with his favor. He made him a golden link in this golden chain, and he made him one of the most elevated inheritors of the Prophet ﷺ. Shaykh Ubayd Allah tried his best to wash from the hearts of people the dirt and darkness that had covered them. He became a sun to light the way of the seekers to the state of certainty and the hidden treasures of spiritual knowledge. Of course, that's what it's all about. Our shaykhs come, their mission is to help us wash away the dirt and the darkness which is inside our hearts and to illuminate us, to lift us up. He was born in the village of He was born in the village of Shash in the year 806 AH or 1404 CE, in the month of Ramadan. It was related that before he was born, his father began to exhibit a tremendous state of renunciation, which made him leave all worldly actions and enter seclusion. So when a sheikh enters seclusion, they actually spend time in a mosque or sometimes in a cave or somewhere secluded like this. And they don't go out of that unless absolutely necessary. They remain in that place and they just spend their time eating, drinking, maybe reading from the Quran, but they don't spend their time with worldly matters. They don't spend their time outside of that, only for a period of time. It's not like, they stay there forever, but it's just like a training period. And it helps them to come to terms with themselves and purify themselves and to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this can be very difficult if it's not, for a person is, if it isn't right for the person to enter that state, and it's, they're not prepared for it. So it's not something which is widely recommended for everybody unless they are ready to do that. But here is where we read that Project Ubaidullah's father entered seclusion. And this was before the Ubaidullah was born. He nearly gave up sleep and food, disconnected himself from people, and took to practicing the spiritual way of the Sufi path. While in this spiritual state, his wife became pregnant with Ubaidullah. That is one reason for the latter's high station. His spiritual training began while in his mother's womb. When his mother became pregnant, his father's unusual spiritual state entered, and he returned to his normal life. Before Ubaidullah was born, the following incident took place, in which his great station was foretold. Sheikh Mohammed As-Sibili said, when Sheikh Nizamuddin Al-Kamush As-Samarkandi was sitting in my father's house meditating, he suddenly screamed in a tremendous voice. This made everyone afraid. He said, I saw a vision of an enormous man coming to me from the east, and I could see nothing in the world except for him. That person is named Ubaidullah, and he is going to be the greatest sheikh of his time. God is going to make the whole world subject to him, and I hope I will be among his followers. The beginning of his state and the state of his being. The signs of happiness were visible on him in his childhood. The light of guidance appeared on his face. One of his relatives said he did not accept the breast of his mother for nursing until she was clean of any postpartum bleeding and discharge. He himself reported, I still recall what I heard when I was 1 year of age. From the age of 3 years, I was in the presence of God. When I studied the Quran with my teacher, my heart was in God's presence. I used to think that all people were like that. One day during the winter, I went out while it was raining and put my feet and my feet and shoes sank into the mud. It was very cold. I tried to pull my feet out of the mud. I realized that my heart was in big danger because for that moment, I had forgotten to remember God. I immediately began to ask for forgiveness. That's quite different to most people, especially as a child. Amazing. He was raised in the home of his uncle, Ibrahim Ash-Shashi, who was the greatest scholar of his time. He taught him very well, and when he had completed his training, his uncle sent him from Tashkent to Samarkand. He said to his uncle, whenever I go to study, I feel sick. He replied, oh, my son, I know the state you are now in, so I'm not going to force you to do anything. Do as you like. You are free. He narrates, one day, while in that state, I went to visit the grave of Sheikh Abi Bakri Abu. Sorry, getting tongue twisted here. One day, while in that state, I went to visit the grave of Sheikh Abi Bakr Al-Ahrar. I took a nap and had a vision. I saw Jesus Salam in the vision. I rushed to bow down and kiss his feet. He raised my head and said, "O my son, do not become sad. I am taking the responsibility of raising and educating you." That vision ended. I related the vision to many people. One of them was an expert in the interpretation of spiritual states. He explained it in this way: "You are going to be very high in the science of medicine." I did not like his explanation. I told him, "I know better what the vision represents. Jesus Salam, in spiritual knowledge, represents the state of the living ones. Anyone who reaches that state among the saints will be given the title living one." God mentioned in the Holy Quran a verse describing them. Truly, they are alive with their Lord, receiving sustenance. This is in 3:169. Since he promised to raise me in that line, it means that I'm going to reach the state of the living hearted. It was not much longer before I received that state from the living one in my heart. I saw the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in a grand vision. He was accompanied by a very large crowd, standing at the foot of a mountain. He looked at me and said, "O Ubayd Allah, lift up this mountain and take it up to that other mountain." I knew that no one can carry a mountain, but it was a direct order from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. I lifted that mountain and I carried it to the place he asked me. Then the Prophet ﷺ looked at me and said, "I knew that this power was in you. I wanted people to know about it and to see the power you are carrying. From this, I knew that I would be the means of guiding a great many people to this way." One night, I saw Shah Naqshband come to me and work on my internal state. When he went, I followed him. He stopped and looked at me. He said, "May God bless you, my son. You are going to have a very high position." I followed the spiritual pole, Nizamuddin Al-Kamush in Samarkand. Then, when I was 22 years old, I went to Bukhara, where I met the great Noah, Shaykh Sirajuddin Al-Bimisi. He lived 4 miles from Bukhara. When I visited him, he looked at me intensely and he wanted me to stay with him. But my heart was telling me to travel to Bukhara. I only stayed with him briefly. He used to work in the day making clay pots, and at night he used to sit in his prayer room on the floor. After finishing his night prayer, he would sit until the dawn prayer. I never saw him sleeping during the day or the night. I stayed with him 7 days, and never did I see him sleep. He was one of the most advanced in both external and internal knowledge. Then I moved to Bukhara, where I kept company with Sheikh Hamiduddin Ashashi and with Sheikh Alauddin Al-Gujrawani. They were among the followers of Shah Naqshband. Alauddin Al-Atta and Yaqub Al-Chakhi. Sheikh Alauddin Al-Gujrawani would sometimes disappear completely while lecturing, and then he would reappear. He had an excellent way of speaking. He never stopped making dhikr and struggling with his self. I met him when he was 90 years old. SubhanAllah, in those days, if you reach 90 years old, that's pretty remarkable. I mean, today, people might reach 90 years old, but I mean, that in itself is something interesting. I used to frequent his company. One day, I went for a walk to the grave of Shah Naqshband. When I came back, I saw Sheikh Alauddin Al-Gujrawani coming halfway to meet me. He said, "I think it is better that you stay with us tonight." We prayed the night prayer. He offered me dinner. Then he said to me, "Oh, my son, let us keep this night alive." He sat cross-legged, and I sat behind him. He was in perfect meditation and dhikr. He never moved left or right. I know through my spiritual knowledge that a person in that state must be in complete presence and vision of the divine. I was surprised that at his age of 90 years, he did not feel tired. By midnight, I myself began to feel exhausted. I began to make little sounds, hoping he would give me permission to stop. He ignored me. Then I stood up to attract his attention, but he still ignored me. I felt ashamed and went back to my place and sat again. At that time, I experienced a vision in which he was pouring into my heart the secret of the knowledge of firmness and constancy. From that time on, I felt that whatever difficulty came my way, I would be able to carry it without any disturbance. I realized that this order is based completely on the support of the disciple by the Shaykh. He taught me a lesson that one must struggle to keep firm and constant in the dhikr, because whatever you acquire easily without difficulty will not stay with you. Whatever you earn by the sweat of your brow, however, will stay with you. One time I went to visit Sheikh Sayyid Qasim Al-Tabrizi in Herat. There I followed an ascetic way of life, leaving everything of the world. When he ate, he would give me the remains. I would eat them without saying anything. One day he looked at me and said, "You are going to be very rich. I am predicting this for you." At that time I had nothing. When I returned to my country, I was a farmer. I had 1 acre of land on which I kept some cows. In a very short time, his prediction came true. My land increased until I had many farms and herds of cattle. All this wealth did not affect my heart. I dedicated it all for the sake of God. SubhanAllah, I mean, this is some things which indicate the state of the person, but also this is extremely good advice. When he was sitting with Shaykh Alauddin Al-Gujrani and doing zikr, and he had that vision where the Shaykh was pouring into his heart the secret of the knowledge of firmness and constancy. And the lesson is that you must struggle for things, especially spiritual things. You know, if you don't struggle for your spiritual knowledge or wisdom, what do you have? It's even like worldly people know this. It's what you struggle for. You know, there's the saying in English, no pain, no gain. What's this indicate? It means if you struggle for something, there's going to be some difficulty involved. Now, the manner of the pain or the difficulty will vary depending on what you're trying to achieve and depending upon the nature of that. So, for instance, the struggle or pain in becoming a super fit, healthy athlete converse to the struggle or pain involved in becoming a top academic or a top cleric or Sufi who understands their religion or spiritual path with great depth. The pain and the struggle is going to be different. It's not going to be exactly the same way. If you're an athlete, you know, you're going to have muscle pain. But if you're studying, you have pain in your brain. You know, it'll be different kind of. It'll be a pain and a struggle to stay awake and to study. It's not easy. It's difficult. Sometimes people who don't study, they think it's easy because people just sit with books. But it's not so easy. And if you think it is, then you should try. And the struggle involved with the spiritual purification of yourself and becoming a better human being, and especially to go on to actually be able to guide other people, that struggle is ongoing and one of the most challenging of all. Anything we get easy, we tend not to appreciate. There's less value in it. And this is why today, people can acquire so many things much easier than what they would have done at one time in the past. And so what's happened to society? Society has become incredibly disposable. When I was growing up, I was taught by my parents to look after things, to value things. If you look at my books and how I put them on the shelves and I line them all up the edge of the shelf, and I look after them. I see other people's books tossed about all over the place, if I see books at all. Some people's homes you go into, they don't even have books. Even though we live in an age where it's actually easier to get books than ever before. And so people don't appreciate books anymore, which is a real tragedy, because when you read books, it's like here, I'm reading something in this book by Mawlana Shaykh Hisham that Shaykh Ubayd Allah Al-Ahrar wrote. I'm reading words, obviously translated into English, but words of a sheikh who lived hundreds of years ago. And thanks to reading, I can benefit from his insights and his knowledge. It's only through reading that we get that. And we get that from books. But my parents, they used to value things. Clothes would be repaired. Other things, like I remember a table, which incidentally is a table I have downstairs in my living room. A table that my dad had in a flat. Was actually the first dining table he bought. And when the surface got damaged and he had scratches and stuff in it, when I was an older child, I remember helping my dad sand down the top layer. And then he revarnished it. And voila, it looked like a new table. And this was how my dad was raised. My dad's an Englishman. It's not like today people in this country, they just dispose of things, But my dad, he didn't have things easy, so he appreciated the stuff that he had, and he looked after it. And even though, I'm talking about spirituality and I follow a spiritual path, we should also look after the material things that we have, because these are trusts from Allah, they're gifts from Allah. We should look after them. We shouldn't just throw everything away, because when we do that, we get new things and throw stuff away. We make ourselves a burden upon the environment in which we live. But here, the Sheikh is obviously talking about spiritual learning. And he had to sit with different sheikhs, spend time with them, and develop that self-discipline. Even it's not easy. It's not easy to do that. And we believe within Naqshbandi Tarqis, you only do it through the blessing and support of your sheikh. But you also have to start with the intention and do your part. And then your Shaykh helps you. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ helps you. And of course, all of this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. One time I went to visit Sheikh Sayyid Qasim al-Tabrizi in, I read that, sorry. Okay. The superiority of service. His benevolence in private and in public marked his way. One time I went to the school of Qutb al-Din al-Sadr in Sama. I found 4 people there with very high fevers. I began to serve them, cleaning their clothes and feeding them, until I too became infected with the same fever. This did not stop me from serving them. The fever in me increased and increased until I felt that I was going to die. I made an oath to myself, let me die, but let these 4 people be served. I continued to serve them. The next day, I found myself completely cured while they were still sick. To help and serve people in the understanding of this way is better than dhikr and meditation. Some people think that to do the supererogatory sunnah prayers is better than serving and helping those in need. It is our view, however, that to take care of people and to help them and to show them love is better than anything else. SubhanAllah, you know, you get people, they talk about this today, and they have put the emphasis on the extra prayers and on the dhikr, which are important and they're beneficial. But then if they only do that and they don't serve other people, what are they really doing? And here we have the example of one of the great shaykhs of the Naqshbandi Tariqah, who spent some time serving some people who were sick with a bad fever. Actually, that is incredibly relevant today with the whole thing around COVID. People worrying so much. Well, how would Shaykh Ubayd Allah have been? It said, he made an oath, let me die, but let these 4 people be served. His intention was to help those people till his last breath, to not give up on them. In this regard, Shah Naqshband used to say, we love to serve, not to be served. When we serve, God is happy with us, and this brings more attraction to the divine presence, and God opens that state more for us. However, to be served brings pride and weakness to the heart and causes us to recede from the divine presence. Shaykh Ubayd Allah said, I did not take this spiritual path from books, but I pursued this way by service to people. Everyone enters through a different door. I entered the spiritual order through the door of service. He was extremely strict in keeping the right conduct of both external and internal behavior. In his seclusion and among the people, Abu Sa'ad al-Obahi said, I accompanied him for 35 years. I was with him continuously. In all that time, I never saw him remove the skin or the seeds of fruit from his mouth, so as not to open his mouth with food inside. When he was sleepy, he would never yawn. I never saw him spit. I never saw him do something which would disgust people. I never even saw him sitting cross-legged. He sat only on his knees in perfect good conduct. From his miraculous speech about the glorious Quran, I will tell you a secret from among the many secrets of praise belongs to God, Lord of the worlds. The perfect praise is to God from God. The perfection of praise is when the servant praising him knows that he is nothing. The servant must know that he is completely empty. No body or form exists for him. No name and no action belongs to him. But he is happy because of God, almighty and exalted, made his attributes appear in him. SubhanAllah. What is the meaning of God saying in the Quran, and a few of my servants are thankful? Surah 34:13. The servant who is truly thankful is the one who can see the grantor of favors to human beings. What is the meaning of the verse? And leave the one who turns away from our remembrance. 53:29. It indicates that for the one who is in deep contemplation of his divine presence and has reached the state of seeing nothing except him, there is no need for acts of remembrance. If he is in that state of complete vision, do not order him to recite dhikr, as it might cause a coldness in his heart. While he is totally preoccupied with his state of vision, anything else is a distraction and might interrupt the state. Muhyiddin ibn Arabi said regarding this matter, by remembrance of God, dhikr Allah, sins increase and visions and hearts will be veiled. To leave the dhikr is a better state because the sun never sets. What he means here is that when the knower is in the divine presence and in the state of absolute vision of the oneness of God, at that time, everything is annihilated in God. For him, dhikr would be a distraction. The knower exists in his existence and appears in his appearance. He is in a state of annihilation in the divine presence. Whereas in dhikr Allah, he would be in a state of absence, in the need of reminding himself that God is there. What is the meaning of the verse? Be with the trustworthy ones. 9:119. So Surah 9:119. This means to keep both their physical and their spiritual company. The seeker may sit in the physical company of the people of truth, watch them, listen to them, and God will enlighten his heart and will teach him to be like them. To keep the spiritual company of the people of truth, the seeker must direct his heart towards their spiritual heart. The seeker must keep their company always in his heart until they reflect all their secrets and all their states on him. He must not turn his face to anything in this world except to the Master who will take him to the presence of God. Love and fellow lovers, when you will be like them and their love will reflect on you. About dhikr with La ilaha illallah, some of the masters say that La ilaha illallah is the dhikr of the common people. Allah is the dhikr of the preferred people. And Huwa is the zikr of the preferred of the preferred. But to me, La ilaha illallah is the dhikr of the preferred, because it has no end. Just as God is the creator in every moment, so in every moment, knowledge increases for the knower. For the knower, his previous state is as nothing once he enters a new, higher state. The lower negates one state as he discards it, and affirms a new state as he enters it. This is the manifestation of La ilaha illallah in the servant of God. What is meant by the verse, O you who believe, believe? Surah 4, 136. Surah 4, 136 is, O believers, you are safe. You are safe because you have connected your heart with God, Almighty and exalted. And anyone who connects his heart with God is guaranteed safety. What is the meaning of the verse, to whom belongs the kingdom on this day? To God, the one, the irresistible. Surah 40. Surah 40, ayah 16. This verse has had so many explanations, but the key is to understand that the kingdom referred to is the heart of the seeker. If God looks at the heart of the seeker with the light of his vision, then he erases the existence of everything except God in his heart. That is what caused Bayazid to say, glory to me for my greatness, and Hallaj to say, I am the truth. In that state, the heart is speaking, the heart from which God has erased everything but himself. What is the meaning of the verse? Every day, moment, he manifests himself in yet another wondrous way. Surah 55, ayah 29. This verse relates to two aspects of subsistence after annihilation. First, the seeker, after he realizes the truth through his heart, is firmly established in his vision of the unique essence of God, Almighty and exalted, returns from the station of self-effacement to the station of complete presence. His senses become the place of appearances of God's names and actions. He finds in himself traces of both the heavenly attributes and the worldly attributes. He is now able to distinguish between the two different levels of attributes. He is able to obtain benefits from every attribute and knowledge. The second meaning of the verse is that the spiritual traveler finds in himself in every moment and in every minuscule particle of time a trace of the unique essence of God, which cannot be found outside the state of annihilation in the vision of the One. From one fractional moment to another, he will visualize parts of the states of the unique divine essence and understand the connectedness of everything in the divine unity. This connectedness varies in its colors and effects on the person, because it was thus distinguished according to the time in which it appeared. This state is a very rare state, and few saints attain it. Those few in each century who reach it are in a state of great honor, and they observe the meaning of the verse. Every day he manifests himself in yet another wondrous way. What is the meaning of the tradition? Close all doors which face my mosque, except the door of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq existed in a state of perfect love towards the Prophet ﷺ. All doors to the Prophet are closed, except the door of love, as represented by the open door of Abu Bakr as-Sadiq. The way of the masters of the Naqshbandi order is connected through Abu Bakr as-Sadiq to the Prophet ﷺ. Love for the master brings the seeker to the door of Abu Bakr, which leads him to the love of the Prophet ﷺ, and from the love of the Prophet ﷺ to the love of God Almighty and Exalted. So, I mean, there's a lot to take in here, but definitely a lot of wisdom there. The meaning of Siddiq. If a truthful saint, Siddiq, progressing in the way of God, is heedless for one moment, he loses in that one moment more than the attainment of 1,000 years. Our order is a way in which all states are multiplied quickly in every moment. 1 second may be multiplied to the value of 1,000 years. There was a group of my followers who were reported to the Caliph as hypocrites. He was advised, if you kill them, you will be rewarded, because people will be saved from their misguidance. When they were brought before the Caliph, he ordered them to be killed. The executioner approached to kill the first one. His companion called out and said, "Leave him and kill me first." When the executioner approached, the second, a third one called him and said, "Kill me first." This was repeated for all 4 of them. The executioner was very surprised. He asked, "What group do you belong to? It is as if you like to die." They said, "We are the group that prefers others to ourselves. We have reached a state in which for every action we perform, our rewards are doubled and we are increased in spiritual knowledge. Each of us tries his best to do good for someone else, even if only for a brief moment, in order to be raised higher and higher in the eyes of God." The executioner began to shake and could not take their lives. He went to the Caliph and explained their state. The Caliph immediately had them released and said, "If these are hypocrites, then there are no more people of truth, Sadiq, left on earth." The conduct of the Shaykh and the disciple. One great Shaykh wrote to Shaykh Ubayd Allah and said, "If you would like to educate any of your disciples, please send me one and I will teach him." He replied, "Do not have any disciples, but if you need a Shaykh, I have many." Subhanallah. Sufism requires you to carry everyone's burdens and not to put yours on others. Now there's something that people should take heed of. Sufism requires you to carry everyone's burdens and not to put yours on others. In other words, we should be definitely looking after our own responsibilities. And we should be doing as much as we can to help those who need help, taking care of their responsibilities too. To support others. The best time of the day is 1 hour after the afternoon prescribed prayer. At that time, the disciple must make progress in his worship. One of the best forms of worship at this time is to sit and evaluate the deeds of the day. If the seeker finds what he has done to be good, he must praise God. If he finds anything wrong, he must ask for forgiveness. So after Asr prayer, check your deeds that day. And if they're good, praise Allah. And if you find anything wrong, then make a stop for Allah. One of the best deeds is to follow a perfect shaykh. To follow him and to keep his company will enable the seeker to reach the divine presence of God, Almighty and Exalted. Keeping the company of people of different mentalities causes the people to fall into differences. One time, Bayazid al-Bistami was sitting in association. He found disagreement within the group. He said, "Look carefully among yourselves. Is there anyone who is not from us?" They looked and did not find anyone. He said, "Look again, for there is someone who is not from us." They looked again and found a walking stick of someone not from the group. He said, "Throw that away quickly, because it is reflecting its owner, and that reflection is causing disagreement." One day, a Sufi joined the group of the scholar, Mawlana Zainuddin at-Sibabi. The Sufi was asked, "Who do you love more, your Shaykh or Imam Abu Hanifa?" He replied, "For a long time I followed the way of Imam Abu Hanifa very carefully. Yet for all those years, the bad manners that were in my heart would not leave me. After I had followed my Shaykh for only a few days, all my bad manners disappeared. So how could I love the Imam better than my Shaykh, even though I give Imam Abu Hanifa full respect?" The Shaykh must appear in the presence of his disciples, dressed in the best clothes, neat, clean and neat. It is through their heart's connection that the disciples connect with the Shaykh. If he is dirty or unkept, it will be difficult for the disciples to maintain the quality of their heart's connection. For that reason, the Prophet ﷺ ordered his followers to comb their hair and to wear their best clothes during worship. So you see, although being humble in dress is also not a bad thing, but if a person is teaching the disciples and they come all shabbily dressed, and I mean, it's not about a style of clothing necessarily, it's just to look tidy, to look presentable. And actually this is good psychology. Today this would be regarded as psychology, because it's understanding that you have to be presentable to the people who you are presenting yourself to. And if you do that, then hopefully there won't be anything which gets in the way of them from actually benefiting from what you're teaching. I mean, if the Shaykh was dirty, I mean, on the most basic level, then the disciples would be distracted by the dirt. If the Shaykh had holes in his clothing, the disciples would be, concerned, about their Shaykh and what's going on. So they'd forget they're there to benefit and learn. And sometimes this does come up because people will criticize some of the Shaykhs and say, "Oh, they've been very fine clothing." Well, I mean, the Prophet Muhammad's guidance is to be in the best clothing the person has. I mean, so obviously if a person does come from a rich family or a family that's been very successful in business, then the Shaykh is going to have better clothes than a Shaykh that comes from a working class background who's never really had too much. But in both cases, the Shaykh would be tidy. And again, we shouldn't be focusing on those sorts of things. We should be focusing on the message. Bismillah. God gave me great power to influence anyone I like. Even if I send a letter to King Kata, who proclaimed that he was God, he would come crawling barefoot to me. I have never used that power, however, because in this order, the will must follow the will of God, Almighty and exalted. One of Ubaidullah's followers said, we were sitting in his presence, and he asked for ink, paper, and a pen. He wrote many names. Then he wrote one name on another piece of paper, and that name was Abu Said. He took that paper and put it in his turban. We asked him, who is the man whose name you put in your turban? He said, that is the man all of the people of Tashkent, Samarkand, and Bukhara are going to follow. After 1 month, we heard that King Abu Zayd was coming to take over Samarkand. No one had ever heard of him before that. It is related, one time, King Abu Zayd had a dream in which he saw the great Imam Ahmed al-Yasawi, one of the caliphs, i.e. deputies, of Yusuf al-Hamadani, asking Ubaydullah Al-Ahrar to read the first chapter of the Quran, Al-Fatihah, with the intention that God gives support to Abu Zayd. In the dream, Abu Zayd asked, who is that sheikh? And was told, Ubaydullah Al-Ahrar. When he awoke, he still had the image of the sheikh in his mind. He called his advisor in Tashkent and asked him, is there anyone by the name of Ubaydullah? He said, yes. Then the Sultan went to Tashkent to meet him, and he found him in the village of Faqa. The sheikh came out to meet him. The Sultan recognized him right away. Immediately, his heart was attracted. He dismounted and ran to the sheikh, kissing his hands and feet. He asked the sheikh to recite Al-Fatihah for him. The sheikh said, "O my son, when we need something, we recite Fatihah once, and that is enough. We already did that, as you saw in your dream." The king was astonished that the sheikh knew of the content of his dream. He then asked permission to move to Samarkand, and the sheikh said, "If your intention is to support the divine law of the Prophet ﷺ, then I am with you, and God will support you." The king said, "This is my intention." The sheikh said, "When you see the enemy coming against you, be patient and do not attack immediately. Wait until you see the crows coming from behind you, then attack." When this came to pass and the two armies were facing each other, Abu Zayd waited while the larger army of Abdullah Mirza was attacking. The generals urged Abu Zayd to attack. He said, "No, not until we see the blackbirds coming. As my sheikh foretold, then we will attack." When he saw the crows coming, he ordered the army to attack. The horse of Abdullah Mirza became stuck in the mud. He was captured and imprisoned. Then Abu Zayd was able to take all the territories. He then called Ubaydullah Al-Ahrar to move to Tashkent from Samarkand. Ubaydullah accepted and moved there with all his followers. He became the advisor to the king. After some years, Sultan Abu Zayd received the news that Mirza Baba, nephew of Abdullah Mirza, was moving towards Khurasan with 100,000 warriors in order to avenge his uncle and take back his kingdom. Sultan Abu Zayd went to Ubaydullah and told him about this, saying, "We do not have enough soldiers." The sheikh said, "Don't worry." When Mirza Baba arrived in Samarkand, Sultan Abu Zayd consulted his advisors. They advised him to retreat to Turkestan. He prepared to return to Turkestan. The sheikh came to him and said, "How is it that you are disobeying my orders? I told you not to fear. By myself, I am enough for all the 100,000 soldiers. The next day, plague attacked the army of Sultan Mirza Baba, causing them to die by the thousands. Sultan Mirza Baba made a peace treaty with Abu Zayd. Then Mirza Baba left Samarkand in defeat with the remains of his army. SubhanAllah. Shaykh Ubayd Allah died after the night prescribed prayer on Saturday, the 12th of Rabiul Awwal, 895 AH, 1490 CE, in the city of Kaman Kashan in Samarkand. He left behind many books, including Anas as-Salikin fit Tasawwuf and Al-Uwatul Wuthaka li Ababar Kul Ittikan. So Al-Uwatul Wuthka li Ababul Ittikan. He established a large school and a mosque, which are still in use today. His son, Muhammad Yahya, and many of the people present at his death saw a light so brilliant shone from his eyes that it made the candles appear dim. All of Samarkand, including the Sultan, were shaken and grief-stricken at his passing. Sultan Ahmed came with all his army to the funeral. The Sultan carried his coffin to its final resting place in this lower world. He passed his secret to Sheikh Muhammad al-Zahid al-Qadi al-Samarkandi. SubhanAllah. Wow. SubhanAllah. I mean, this is an amazing life. And you compare that to anyone today. SubhanAllah. But certainly food for thought. And, we should reflect upon the lives of these great awliya Allah, for they are an instruction and a guidance to us, and an inspiration to us as to what we should be striving for in our lives, and an inspiration for us who are helping others to learn, people who are teachers within the community or run institutions. How does what we're doing compare with what they did? May Allah forgive us for our manifold shortcomings and grant that we are more like illustrious teachers and awliya Allah. That Allah grants us to some of that barakah, some of that blessing. For the sake of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammadin wa barik Salam. Al-Fatihah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Unless there are any questions today, then I will close it there. I look forward to seeing you all on Monday for my zikr at the University of Birmingham Multi-Faith Chaplaincy. And I'll also be recording it for broadcast live online and later upload to YouTube, as I would normally do. So I look forward to seeing you on Monday, and I wish you all a very good, blessed weekend, and a good evening if you're in the UK. If you find these videos useful, and you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channels, and my website at paulsarmstrong.com. And feel free to share the links if you know people who may benefit from these. The whole point I'm doing this is as a service to the community, and I don't benefit from this in any other way. It's just a service that I am giving to the community, and I hope people are benefiting. Inshallah. I wish you all the very best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.